her first go.
That's all right. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hey, Sarge Talk TV. We've been hot and heavy. Sorry you had to wait on this, but we were talking about the subject we're talking about tonight is women in combat. Should they be in combat or should they be in combat roles? There's a big difference between combat arms, combat support, and combat service support. 3 different animals, okay? But we're going to talk about that tonight. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of... So what I did was I put the link at the top, okay? Yeah. If you disagree or you have an opinion about it, we want to hear it, okay? How can we make this work or can we not? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. It is a hot subject in the ranks, trust me. Hot subject. And the Secretary of War made it very clear on the standards, okay?
Yep.
No 2 standards, 1 standard. You got to meet it, you're gone. Just like every male soldier that falls out of Ranger School, every male that falls out of Special Forces training and certifications, if they don't meet it, they're gone. Okay, so they're not no more kit gloves. So we're going to talk about that tonight. But first, I seen Byron's comment about what about the big one that got away on the fishing trip? Because this is our first live since we've been gone and went fishing and all that stuff. I know we talked about it on our channels and stuff.
Right.
Jason is the winner of the big fish. Okay. He caught the biggest trout. I caught the second biggest trout, but we can't count that because I didn't have a measuring tape. All I had was my size 14 shoe. Okay. So we can't count that one. Okay. And there was one witness. There was 3 witnesses, Anthony, Wyatt, and Pops. Okay. And I'm going to tell you something. He was a big one, but
yeah, I think they all said the ones that seen it, and then they've seen, of course, Wyatt carried mine around for me for a while on the stringer.
In between him dunking himself in the river every day.
Right. And I figured, hey, if he was going to dunk himself, he would keep the fish alive. So I figured, hey, who better to keep the fish in the water than the guy that's in the water all the time?
Yeah.
But yeah, they said it was all comparable, and I think they were counting more of because I kept that one. So it kind of counted as big fish. So it would have been interesting. I definitely would have bowed out the honors to my battle buddy, Big Mike, and said, hey, you got the biggest one out there. Because, I wasn't going to measure for my foot because I'm not in a 14.
Levi caught the most trout out of everybody. He was a fishing magnet. So that's David at Come On Son. He most fish.
He wasted no time in the mornings, though. They got up, and it was like I would get out and be just sipping my first cup of coffee, and they're in waders heading down to the river already.
And the steam hasn't even come off the river yet.
Yeah. So,
hey, Bucky's today, guys. Been in Texas today. Got me a new shirt, 1776. American flag on the back. And I got another one. The ones I wanted, they didn't have my size. Okay.
See, that's the hard part for me, which I get it's probably even harder for you, being the size that you need, right? It's not very common. My shirt size is very common. So when I go in and I'm looking through them and I'm like, that's the one I want, they're all sold out.
See how it fits? This is a 4X. And when she washes it and dries it, it'll go down to a large 3X, and that's what I wear.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever. I know everybody doesn't give a crap about that, but hey, I had to tell you anyway.
Hey, for everybody that hasn't met you in person, though, right? I remember the first time that we had asked because we were coming to a meetup, and we were like, hey, we want to bring you a shirt, and you're like 4X, and I'm like, BS, no way. And you were adamant. So I was like, fine, we're going to bring a 4X. Like, I can't believe I've seen them on video. I've seen them. No, it doesn't. It's not. The perspective isn't there until you meet you in person and realize, okay, he pulls it off. All right. I was wrong.
You know how the people they see the videos like SLR, Country Road Cure over at your place, and how they say the camera doesn't do it justice until you're standing in front of it, and
Right.
then you get the real. That's the same with me. Everybody goes, "Oh, there's no way." Jesse said, "Oh, there's no freaking way." And then I met Jesse for the first time, and I mean, Jesse comes up to hear me, and I can wrap my arms around him, and he just goes, "Holy crap!" Yeah.
A few people, you keep getting bigger.
I know. Every time they talk about me, I get bigger. In somebody's live, I was like 7 foot freaking tall. I'm only 6'4". All right, 6'4", 285 pounds. Okay, I wear a 4X. If you want to send me a shirt, send it. My address is in the about on MT Homestead. So yeah, you can send me a shirt. But it's got to be a 4X because it's going to shrink down once we put it in the dryer. We don't have a clothesline, okay? But anyway,
you got plenty of room to do it. But man, you got to have 500 foot of line to be able to get 4 of your shirts on it.
That's right. You got to go to Ahab, the tent maker, son, and have a shirt made. All right, that's what we used to say when we were over in the Middle East. All these Arabs were coming up to me. They're going, "Oh, go!" Because we'd go out and talk to like the Bedouins. Hey, we're getting ready to shoot artillery here. We would like you to move because Saudi Arabia gave us this area here to shoot, or Iraq. We worked it all out, and you got to move. Oh, fire your guns! I'd go in there, and they're going, "Oh, golly, that guy's big." I know that's Indian, and that's probably people are going to say something. But, hey, let's say hello to the people in the chat real quick.
Let's do it. There might be 1 or 12.
1 or 12. We got everybody. There is Megan. Hello, Megan. She came over. Abby G, she shared us out over in the Philippines. So we have a lot of our Filipino family that's in here. Shane Raza is here. I don't know if you can see these. There's
Pamela Espada.
Yep. And there's Almira. Welcome in.
Hey, that's an easy one. Minnie's in here.
Minnie's here. All right. And there's our friends up in Indiana. There's Byron and Brenda Hulk. And hello, Colin. How are you doing?
Going on, Colin?
Saying hello to him.
No. There's Crystal's Adventure.
Yep. Lynn the Farm Okie's here. Welcome in. Hey, good news. We were going to Texas today. Brittany is having her birthday, but Terry will be in for surgery and recovery during her birthday. So we set up a time prior to it to go up there and celebrate Brittany's birthday. Her birthday's on the 6th of November, but Terry's not going to be in any shape to go driving somewhere. And so we went to Texas. We went to the Bavarian Grill in Plano, Texas. Guys, most authentic German restaurant practically that I've ever been to. And I lived in Germany for 16 years. And yeah, I shot my cholesterol up when I lived over there. But if you ever go to Plano, Texas, and you want some authentic German food, go to the Bavarian Grill in Plano, Texas. So we went there. We ate till, I had a stomach ache. It was so bad. I ate so much food. And then they brought out the Black Forest Schwarzwälder cake for her birthday. And man, my blood sugar, my eyeballs felt like they were going to pop out. It was so good, so rich, so sweet. But we had a great time, and happy birthday to Brittany. I love her. I love her. I love her. And we had a good time. And she made Terry a new sweater. She knitted a beautiful sweater for Terry. So thank you, Brittany, for that. And of course, we had to go to Buc-ee's, and we had to go to HEB. So we had a great time today. And
I know that was our only mess up the whole trip to Texas when we went down there is we got so distracted visiting family and everything, we never made it to the HEB. So I'm like, well, guess we got to go back to Texas because I got to go get some of that Texas pecan coffee.
Dude, I ate so much, I think I fell asleep in a diabetic coma. Because I woke up, we were home. I'm going, holy crap, that was a short ride. Terry goes, no.
At least now we don't have
everything today.
Yeah, I was going to throw the precursor out there, guys, that Big Mike isn't bored tonight. He's just in food coma dozing off. But he had a nap, so he has no reason to doze off now.
That's right. And there is Anna Bohr. Welcome in.
Good to see you back, Robin.
Let's see. Hey, there's
Debbie Drock. Always good to see Debbie in here. Very consistent every week. We love
There's
you.
There's our friend Judy Herman.
And there's Jonesy. All the way over to Tasmania's.
All right. And there's our good friend, the MP, Denise McDonald.
Good to see you, sister.
And you would be a great person to bring up on this subject. So hit that link, Denise, and come on up here and share the love with us and put these O2 codgers in their place.
Somebody needs to. I was hoping we would get some adult supervision and she would come up with this. So there's Dana, and I'm sure, Tim and Dana, and I'm sure Renly and Stella aren't far behind them. So
yeah. Ashes and Embers, welcome in. Glad you're here. Oh.
There's I don't know if I put it out there. I think I did that. Eddie and I got to meet in person when we were down in Texas finally. So that was awesome.
Yeah. There's Ralph over at Webb's Web.
Good to see you, Ralph.
And guys, if you notice channels you've never seen before, you need to write their names down and go over there and check their channel out. Help everybody out there. There's Ray Castile.
Always good to see you in here, Ray. And I'm sure, I look a couple down, and his beautiful bride Barbara's in here with him.
Yep.
Love that they can both come in. That is awesome. Oh, you get the next
Angie.
one. Yeah.
Angie. Our favorite VA nurse is here, guys.
I sing it in my head every time, but when it tries to come out my mouth, it's horrible. So I just don't do it. But sister knows we love her.
Yes, we do love her. Hey, there's Tamara over at Heartland Headquarters with Dink and Tank.
Yeah, we're going to bring that up too. So I'll go ahead and read it. I'm going to say around a certain time of the month when you're in the field, how can a woman take care of that? I don't know, in my opinion, women as a supportive role, supply logistics or intelligence. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we were going to talk about all that. Big Wave Florida's here. Let's see.
Warrior Spear Modeling.
All right. Warrior Spear Modeling.
That's a pretty cool little avatar they got going.
Yeah. That looks like the 300.
Right?
Remember that? I absolutely love that movie. If a guy can shit in the field, then a female can change a tampon in the field. It's not that hard. I get, and we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about that too. It's not so much that she can, but that's definitely a look away moment.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely correct. A country boy and his paint buffer. That is the, I don't know. He's not the better half, is he, of Tamara?
He'd be the needy half. I mean, we love David. He's awesome, but definitely between Tamara and he's the needy half.
Yeah. Hello from Missouri, former 19 Delta. Ooh, Scout. Armored Scout.
Welcome in, Kelly. Appreciate you.
And there is Chris over at Mr. Leonard Mountain Homestead.
Sup, Chris?
Sup.
So, you know what I always love is the fact that his wife, you know, they go live on their main channel at the same time, and he's like, I don't care what the heck she's saying. He's always watching us on his phone, like in the live, like going on. So,
yeah. All right. So we have said hello to everybody. I'll leave that at the bottom. So if anybody comes in, Jason and I will pop that up on the screen. So you put this one on there. Yeah, depends on perspective. So first things you got to know. During the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, 6,000, deaths occurred. Okay. And of that, from both of those, Iraq and Afghanistan, some sources combine casualty figures for the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. For example, they came up with a report in 2012 from a company called AllGov, stated that 139 total female service members died in both countries out of the 6,000 that died. Okay. What you don't know is, yes, out of the 6,000 people that died in both, I can tell you that when about a year after we redeployed back home, 129 people died due to training accidents or accidents themselves before we ever LD'd to go into Iraq in 1990-91. So that accounted for 129 military members dying for whatever, training accidents, not paying attention. We had one in our battalion that was jumping. He was a commo guy. They were told us, hey, you got to wear your helmet at all times when you're on top of a track. You got to have 3 points of contact at all times. That means 2 feet and 1 hand, or 2 hands and 1 foot. Okay. And he was hopping, checking on radios and antennas and doing his thing that commo guys do. And he was jumping and he slipped and he fell back. And on a track vehicle where you screw in the antenna on like an APC or whatever, they have that metal. There's strips of metal that's welded together to protect the base unit, trees and stuff like that. He hit square on the back of his head, right on that metal piece. Okay. And just split his head open and he died. Knowing they put out they brought down they brought down the hammer afterwards. And we had to be, as leaders, we had to be total asses to our soldiers to stop the safety violations, because there was no need for 129 people to die prior to even going in to the combat zone. It was all combat zone, but I'm talking about the line of departure.
Well, and I think that's the hardest time to control. Like I remember in 2003 when we were prepping to go into Baghdad, we were still on the Kuwait side, and we had lost one for sure. I think the second one happened during other stuff that wasn't combat related, right?
Right.
But all the chaos, you start to forget, and that's why, like in training, it's so adamant to always, maintain. Like you'll get lazy, right? You get into a rhythm, and you get going, and then when you add chaos to it, all of a sudden that 3 points of contact goes out the window, and you're just like, hey, I've got a timeline, I've got a deadline, I've got to rush into it. But those are those moments that end up, unfortunately, like this, where, hey, you got in a rush, and because you weren't used to doing it all the dang time, that when it got chaotic, it wasn't automatic.
Right.
And you just started going willy-nilly with it. And yeah, it did. I mean, I don't think we had that many in 03. But it makes sense, and we probably didn't because of what happened back in the 90s. Because you said what, 90, 91?
Yeah.
To be around then, like, it's that whole lesson learned that carried on, and I think that's probably why they were so adamant with us later on, was like, hey, look, there's warning labels on for a reason, and we don't have time to put warning labels on everything, so just do it the way we told you to do it.
Well, and then the other part of it is you have to remember 90-91 Desert Shield, Desert Storm. That was our first real combat since Vietnam.
Yeah.
Okay. We've been training between Vietnam and now. That's all it was training. Perfecting your warrior skills, your team skills, all that stuff, your common core skills, is what you were doing. And
and you were still training on Vietnam tactics. At least I know we were in the Marine Corps.
Oh yeah,
we did up until we left for Iraq in 03. It was like we've been training this whole time to be in a jungle in Vietnam, and all of a sudden they sent us to the desert.
Yeah, so you got to look at it in a way is, yeah, we go to NTC every year, do a rotation in NTC, do desert training out there. Then we would go back to wherever you were and you trained in your terrain and stuff like that. But then we deployed and they brought out, the billion gallons of frickin' sand paint. They had to cart paint everything again. We didn't have only battalion commanders and above when we first went over there had up armored Humvees, and they did those. They shipped those when we got there. They signed for one because they shipped them over on because they had them in Pomka sites, but they only had them as far as command vehicles. They had all the protection, but they forgot to reinforce the floors. And you run over a TMM1 or whatever landmine, your legs are gone. You know, that's great. So the bullets don't hit you, but where the real damage came was all those landmines that you roll over, and some of them are on timers and some of them aren't and stuff like that. And we found when we were in Bosnia, the Serbs would dig a hole. They'd come in with an auger, on one of their vehicles, dig a hole in a road and put 3 or 4 TMM1 mines, stack them, put a counter on it, and you could say, okay, the 6th vehicle that comes over this thing, click, click, 6th one, boom, and you got 3 of them coming up through the floor. Even a Bradley doesn't have a chance. That's the soft underbelly of all the vehicles.
Right.
So, it is what it is. But as you may know, Congress authorized an expansion for the role played by female troops in combat zones. There's been a lot of attention paid to this. I mean, it was pushed by a lot of senators. And I'm going to tell you, female senators, they wanted numbers to go up. They wanted numbers to in badge schools. We call badge schools, Ranger School, SF, Airborne, Air Assault, yada, yada, yada. They wanted those numbers up. They wanted to see more women in those roles, and they've been doing it for years. And I think you've probably seen, what was that, G.I. Jane? That was in the heat of all these senators wanting women in combat roles, and they made that movie and all that stuff. But that's all good. And that change only codified in law the reality on the ground for the last 10 years. Okay. Because you've seen women go to Ranger School. You've seen there's women who've gone through SF training and so on and so forth. But those numbers, I mean, when you think of women in combat, okay, or not, I'm sorry, not in combat, but women in combat arms roles. Let me put it that way. Not, I mean, like I said, there's combat, MOSs, I mean, direct. That's your armor, your infantry, all that stuff, okay? There's not huge number of women wanting to go in. Now, there are women who have passed Ranger School, who have passed SF training, and they're in, okay? But what the Secretary of War says, we're done with two standards. He made it clear. He didn't stutter. We're done with two standards. Now, if you got to take a PT test, the PT regulation is there. There she is. Yes. The devil went down to, what is it, North Carolina? No, where are you in California?
She's out in California now.
Yeah, California.
Yeah. Yeah. She's the only hard ass in California, guys. But unless they're going to go in and change the entire PT standard, according to what I heard, he's saying one standard, you have to take a PT test anytime you go to a school. You got to take a PT test if you go to the professional development school, because your first sergeant don't want to see you back because you failed a PT test. Okay. I would, as a first sergeant, I would chew your butt out because, hey, you took a PT test before you left. How could you fail when you go to school? Because we get letters, we get nasty grams, okay, for PT failures and stuff like that. So that's null and void. If the PT standard stays the way it is, that's the way it is. But if the course or the MOS requires certain things, and let's take tanks, because I got a tanker here. Everybody's got to be able to pick up rounds and help load on a track vehicle, right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. And we don't, back in my day, we didn't have automatic feeders. Okay. Like they got on that new Abrams tank that came in. Okay. Automatically it loads itself, but the rounds got to get in. So that's a standard. Okay. Carrying ammo, loading ammo, doing all these things, changing tracks and doing all that stuff. Those are tasks. Same thing as in Ranger School. If they say you're in the mountain phase of Ranger School and you got to climb the mountain, everybody's got to climb the mountain. Male, female, who cares? If you fail it, then you're gone. Okay? Because Ranger School is 72 days and 72 meals. You get one MRE per day. Okay? Back when I was in the military. And that's it. And you go in. I never went to Ranger School. My buddy came back. He had his Ranger tab. He went in at 220 pounds. He came home at 172. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are standards.
I seen the guys going through Ranger School of Betting. I mean, I didn't go through it, obviously being a Marine.
Yeah.
But there were Marines that went through it. But I was not in an MOS, being a tank mechanic, that I needed to go through it. So, but we watched the guys that would come in and, oh yeah, huge difference. And just seeing their course, I was exhausted looking at their course, and I was just sitting there looking at it, like, not even going through it. So,
and the same thing with airborne. I was in when I went to airborne school, I had 6 females in my class. All 6 graduated. Okay. And I seen men taking the walk, ringing the bell, you're out of here. Okay. Because they failed some part of it. And some people go in there just dumb as rocks, you know, and it's just paying attention, doing exactly what you're told. It's kind of like boot camp. Do exactly what you're told. When they tell you to fall a certain way, you fall a certain way. Okay. And they all graduated. Hoorah. Okay. That's good. Now, what got everybody fired up about females in combat roles. Now, we talked about this before. I don't have a problem. Okay. I don't care. Because when I was a platoon sergeant, the first time I treated everybody like dirt. Okay. Who cares? I don't care. Okay. You're going to do what you're told to do. And, but there's a problem. And the problem comes with people of my gender. Okay. My gender has a problem. Because since I was a little boy, and I have 6 sisters, if somebody screwed with my sisters and I didn't do something about it to protect them, I got home, I got my ass kicked. Okay. And over the years, of course, the male, we're supposed to be the protector of the fairer sex and stuff like that. And we're supposed to do all this stuff. When I was researching this, they've been studying this for a long, long time. A lot of it's really bias, okay? Because, you know, psychiatrists, you know, they're basically woke people. They're, you know, whatever. But what they were saying was the social perspective dynamic. The death of a female soldier may create additional psychological stress due to social dynamics and traditional protective instincts. This can lead to heightened guilt. Some men may experience intensified guilt or a sense of failure to protect a female soldier, even though it is not a realistic expectation in combat. Increased anger, feeling of anger towards the enemy or the perceived injustice of a woman's death may be heightened due to differing social perspectives of combatants. Now, there's a lot of places that military go where women are just freaking property. Okay. They're treated like dirt. They're second-class citizens.
Absolutely.
A man has the right to off his old lady if she does certain things and stuff like that. Okay, we go like this, holy crap, you know, in the States. But it happens, okay?
Yep.
There's always that one part that I remember in the briefings that we had to leave and the females stayed behind. And I asked a sergeant, I said, what the hell did you guys talk about? Oh, they were talking about if you get captured and what could happen to you and blah, 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 and so on and so forth, you know, rape and whatever, they'll kill you because you're nothing to them. Okay. And then undermining of the protective role. The loss may challenge traditional gender roles and male soldiers' own sense of identity, particularly if they feel like they have failed in a protective capacity. And that's what they came up with. The effects on men with the death of women in combat. So where do we go from here?
I feel like those things a male would also feel to lose a male in combat also.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just solely like, I think if they lost a soldier in general in combat, they would feel those things.
Yeah. Now, I will tell you, I had to zip up somebody that I knew. Okay. Not only when I talked earlier about our Camo guy, I had to zip him up and put him in a vehicle and go take him over to what is that 12th Med that was with us and turn him into them. And they process, they do everything. They do an autopsy, or they ship him back to launch stool because we were in the desert. They do an autopsy, cause of death, all that stuff. And then the body goes to grave registration, and then the families are contacted and stuff like that. So as at the time, a platoon sergeant, and he was my Camo guy in my platoon, how do you write a letter to the family? Oh, your idiot son, blew off safety, did exactly the opposite of what they told him to do. He slipped, he fell, he hit his head, and he's dead. Okay. I was glad that we had a chaplain that was a Rhodes Scholar, and he was in the military, and he wrote all those for our battalion. And, he had to say what the family needed to know. Okay. Although an accident, blah, blah, and stuff like that. I was glad I didn't have to write that letter. But when we did LD, a guy I knew, because I seen all the vehicles stopped up ahead, and I pulled in front of them, and I'm going, what the hell's going on? And then you see your buddy, he's half buried in the sand because they were camped out there in that spot, and he was sleeping in front of his APC on a cot, and the guys fired up the motor and ran right over him. Okay, he was sleeping with earplugs in, and that changed a perspective. Seeing somebody die that you don't know, and seeing somebody that's dead that you do know and you have a relationship with, totally different feeling inside your body, and you got to live with that. But when I really thought about this, I think that all the women that I knew in the military, I think that I would have probably taken it a lot harder than seeing a guy. Now, I was an MP. I worked traffic over in Europe out of Mannheim, and I seen a lot of bad accidents. Okay, a lot. And the one thing that messed me up was children in the car. That I mean, I'd vomit because I couldn't emotionally handle that. Next would be a woman in the car, just because of the way I was grown up and stuff like that. And that truly affects everybody. Any death affects anybody, especially if you know. Okay. But what about the way in America that we're raising women? Okay. And raising boys, okay, to respect women, to cherish women, to protect women, and all that stuff. And then you go into combat and you're in whatever unit you are up on the front line. And is there really a front line anymore, in a combat that we've been in Afghanistan? Was there a defined You know, that's the combat line. Okay.
I never saw a defined line.
No, there and I agree with you.
I think the closest I've seen was they did have to breach the berm going from Kuwait into Iraq in 03 to actually make that. That was the closest I'd ever seen to an actual line. Was there was a berm that had to be breached to get in, but that would be the closest. Not in the terms that we think of old school, fighting where, hey, you have a line, the adjutant runs down the middle, and you know what I mean, like the old school, everyone's on horses and spears, like.
And the modern enemy doesn't wear a uniform, so
yeah, and they don't play by the same rules because they will put on a U.S. military uniform and try to blend in and do harm. I get all that, but the only defined line I ever seen was the LD when we first fired up the vehicles and we crossed into Iraq.
Yeah,
that was the line of departure.
Well, I just seen a video today popping up, scrolling through Facebook, and one of these dang Congress people, whatever, these idiots in Washington were questioning Hegseth about like a comment he had made back when he was a platoon leader, and he was questioning the morals of Hegseth, and why would you put this out there? Like, is that really the good morals that we teach in the U.S.? And Hegseth reminded him, and not so many fancy words, was like, our morals here in the U.S. are out the window when we go overseas because they're not the same. We're not going over there. I mean, it's just like the thing that they want us to, chase down, right? Close with and destroy the enemy wearing 85 extra pounds of gear, and they're in man dresses. How do we catch them? How do you're looking at we're in a foot race.
Yeah.
I'm wearing 85 plus I weigh more than he does. The dude's living on rice and whatever random animal they can kill.
If you can even see them, because a lot of weapons of war that they use are they're not necessarily like firing a gun at you,
right?
In your proximity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of IEDs, EFPs, like things like that are like remotely triggered or triggered by you crossing into it or rolling over it or something like that.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And I think that's where that line gets blurred when we talk about like that line of departure or the offensive, defensive it's constant. And it's a 360, right? Our line is 360. We're having to watch all the way around, up, down, below. Like there's no safe zone where you have to operate.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, I will tell you that as we see it today, there are still 230,000 jobs that are still restricted for women to go into. And those are most of them are in the infantry and tankers. Okay. And a lot of field artillery positions will not take them in there. But of course, there are some gung-ho women. Like I said, hey, I'm going to Ranger school. Yeah, they make it, but you don't see it in the numbers of women volunteering to go into combat MOSs. Okay, meaning 11 Mike, 11 Bravo, 11 Charlies, tankers, field artillery, Rangers, special forces, and yada yada yada. It's not like bus loads of women saying, yeah, come, I want to go. All right. But there are some studs out there that do it. Okay. And that one lieutenant who made it through, she asked them, don't change your standards for me. I want to go on the male. And she could pass a male PT test in flying colors. I mean, she was a runner. She was a bodybuilder at one time. She's a stud. She's an absolute stud. I get it. But there's still 230,000 jobs that women can't fill in the military. I think, in my mind, open it all up. And if the standard says this and you can make it, then more power to you, to anybody. Yeah. Okay. I don't care. Okay. I do care. Now we have to look at the social aspect of women in combat. You made a great statement at the very beginning. Okay.
Sorry, I say it how it is.
That's okay. And that's okay. But what is that on the effects of men in your tank?
I've never been in a tank. I'm not a tanker.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there shouldn't be any effect. If they have a feeling about it, then that's their feeling they need to work through. You're both soldiers and you both have a job to do. So it shouldn't be an issue.
Well, it
now,
should be.
Is it going to be an issue? Of course it's going to be an issue. But, I mean, in a perfect world, there wouldn't be an issue, whatever. Right. Obviously, there are issues or else, women would be in those jobs. But, I mean, I went to war twice. I lived in the field for an extended amount of time,
Yeah.
burning shit, doing all that stuff. And me and the other females got through it just fine.
Yeah.
Didn't have an issue.
And I think so. And we're using this, right? And I think that it's a prime example. And, I'll clarify in case any of my Marine brothers that I served with were out there. Look, I'm a tank mechanic, not a tanker. There's a big difference. But in this conversation, I'll fall in that same category, right? I was in tank battalion. But here was the thing that we had looked at was I remember this vividly because as I was getting ready to retire, I was at the schoolhouse at Fort Benning. I was the curriculum developer. I wrote the courses for the mechanics that were going through the mechanic course. And that was the first introduction. We had our first group of females that came through the schoolhouse as a test bed. And I emphasize the test bed part because the aggravating thing for me as the standard keeper, as the curriculum developer that said, hey, this is what the Marine Corps standards were. This is what we translated them into classes. And here is the standard. I wasn't allowed to fail them because they were test bed Marines. Now, they weren't going to get awarded the MOS, whether they made it through the school or not. I'll tell you, out of the 7 or 8 that came, I think only 1 or 2 fully qualified to make it. And it wasn't even on the maintenance side. It was on the crewman side. Now, it's a 4-man crew in a tank. Can females operate in certain positions? Absolutely. If they can maintain that standard, and I think that that's where everybody's in the hubbub about with Hegseth putting it out there, right? If a female Marine, Army, sailor, whatever, right? If a female can come in and maintain the same standard as a male Marine to perform that job, then absolutely 100%, without a doubt, she should be in there, right? She's got no less rights than we do as men to go in and defend her country. And if she wants to die for her country and she wants to serve, she has all of those rights, right? But everyone's still wrapped up in this like early on stage, like women just now got their rights somehow, right? Women have had their rights for a long time. All we're asking is for a certain standard. Now, is there, trying to think of the right word, right? Is there a way to reprogram men to not be sexist in the fact that, hey, this is an all-male battalion? I served for 17 years in all-male battalions. There weren't females allowed in there because we were a combat MOS.
That's the hard sell.
That is the hard part right there, right? And kind of like Mike was talking about was how do you get a man, because we're programmed as a society, how do you get a man to not feel more emotional? You could barely know that female, but you could be best friends with this guy. but he's going to be more emotional because the female died, not that his best friend and his roommate and his tank buddy, like, just because that's what's ingrained in our DNA. And so how do you reprogram that? Because then that becomes a distraction. And that's the biggest thing. And I think that's why Hegseth is pushing the military the way he is to remove the distractions. Now, like what we've said, and don't let anybody on here twist our words in any way, shape, or form. I think that anybody, no matter what your race, religion, creed, sex, if you're qualified to do the job, then you're qualified to do the job. I don't care about any of your other upbringing. I don't care about anything else. Can you do the task that I'm asking you to do? And can you be relied upon? And there is that thing that what I had a problem with, I guess, throwing this out there, what I had a problem with is they were trying to adapt the standards. They wanted to lower the standard to be able to become a tank mechanic or a tank crewman. And they're like, well, we're not changing the standard. Well, you are.
I don't think the standard should be changed. I agree with you. Yeah.
If you're telling me, because here was the deal. I never once, from the time that I enlisted and when they assigned me to be a tank mechanic, I never once got any kind of a physical assessment that said, hey, can you lift? Like, they didn't go up and say, hey, can you lift that 50-pound dumbbell? Can you do this squat? There was nothing special other than I made it through boot camp. I made it through MCT and I did a standard physical. I was allowed to give that job. But now they're adding to where you have to do an extra test. Right? So now everybody has to do an extra test. Well, that's a whole nother process. And there's a lot more logistics involved in it. And that was my part. Living it firsthand during that time was, I have to do twice the work now because now I have to go and I have to test everybody.
Yeah.
And if you met one requirement and said, hey, you're, like I said, I literally was just breathing. It was able to do my PT tested. I didn't do anything special to become, and the tank crewman was the same way. As long as they could pass the course. And like I said, we had a couple that did pass it. They were legit passers. I know one was a female lieutenant, which then they become a tank commander. And I think that's, hey, if they can lead and they can do those types of things, like as a tank commander, they're not handling the rounds. They're not doing all those types of things that need to happen. Now, should they be able to? Yes. But a tank round averages 40 to 45 pounds. They're not
how many do you load into a tank?
70 something, I think. Maybe a few more.
I mean, my body armor weighed that much. So what's the difference? I put that on every day.
And I'll tell you right now that I tried as a mechanic. We were going to make a provisional tank. I could not load a tank round in the amount of time that it was there. I was like, that's why I'm a mechanic. I'm here to fix your broke stuff. You guys do the job. Like and that was the thing, was if there were females, and I knew some that were over in the service support, they could easily do it. They actually created a crew and they could have went and qualified a tank gunnery.
Yeah.
But I think that it's that mental moral stuff that we're ingrained in as a nation that you have to overcome that somehow.
I had a conversation with a male friend of mine who was in the Army, and like, I have his respect and everything, but he had asked me, like, because I was a sergeant and I was deployed, he was like, how are you a leader as a female? He worked when he was active duty, he was in the infantry, so he really didn't work with females. Right. And he said, I would have a problem taking orders from a female. Like, how did you do it? How did you get people to respect you? And I was like, I don't know. I led by example. Like, I did everything everybody else was doing. I didn't expect to be treated any different. I didn't expect a different standard. I I did the job, and like I was very loyal to my people, and I treated my people very well. And they knew they could count on me to be by their side and not make rash or bad decisions.
Yeah. Now I will tell you, when I came in, I was an MP. I was on the DMZ, no females allowed up there. And I was at Warrior Base, and then I left there and I went to Germany. And then when I got to Germany, I was at a nuke site, and there was one female MP there, and they wouldn't let her go up on the hill. In towers, they made her an admin down in the guardhouse at the gate at the tower. She never stepped foot in one of the towers because you got two people in each tower. Okay. And then I left there, and then that was the 558th MP company. Then I went to the 8th MP company in Bad Kreuznach, Germany. And then they sent me down to Mannheim, and it was an all-male MP platoon down there supporting the 272nd MP and 95th MP battalion. So I really didn't work with anybody in my first 3-4 years in the military. And then I I got selected. I put in an ITT, and I got sent to drug team out of Hammond's Barracks outside of Heidelberg. And I went there, and my first partner was a female. And they give you all your paperwork, passports, they give you all this stuff, and you go into the community on drug team doing what we're supposed to do. So, and I always thought she was a badass until we got into a bar fight. We got in there, we're getting ready to nab this dude, and fight ensued. And I was getting the holy shit kicked out of me, and I was grabbing people, I was biting people's ears. I was going to town in there. And when it was all said and done, I couldn't find my partner, and she was laying underneath one of the tables. And when they cleared out, the Polizei came in and they cleared everybody out, and I found her. And I said, "What the hell happened to you?" She said, "Dude, that one big dude hit me square in the face, and I was out." I said, "Holy shit."
Yeah.
And, I felt bad because I lost contact with my partner, and they're your lifeline. And I kind of, when it was all said and done, I did ask for a new partner because I didn't think that she could handle what we were doing. And after that, she asked to be reassigned somewhere else, and she went back to another MP company in Germany. So there is, no matter what MOS you're in, you can always find a physical thing. And I lived with that for the longest time. And I always go, man, that's great, writing tickets and doing this and working TCP points and top security and doing all this stuff is fine. But what happens when shit hits the fan is a woman, unless she's freaking got some kind of karate skill or I don't know, is that a viable concern in the MP? I mean, there's all kinds of jobs in the MPs, okay? There is. And because when I first started off, I was I went to MP school, 95 Bravo. And then they said, right after that, they said, "Hey, we need some people to volunteer. you want to go to 95 Charlie School. So I went to 95 Charlie School prison in Kansas. And then, of course, I lost my orders to Germany, and they sent me to Korea. And I stood in the fucking tower for a whole year. But I mean, there's dangers. I don't care if it's combat arms. I don't care if it's service support, combat support. There are dangers. Okay. And when you look in Afghanistan, what I was reading is women, it didn't matter where you were, the Afghans were attacking everything. Support convoys, easy targets, they think, instead of a full infantry or whatever, an armor or whatever. Those were easy hits because they could get supplies after hitting the convoy. All right.
Right. And that breaks down us if we don't have supplies and things like that weakens
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at it. To me, there's dangers in any job you do. When you put on the suit and you go into a combat zone, because everybody's in the combat zone. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
I wasn't in
suicide bombers running into camps and stuff. Anything could happen.
Yeah, into chow halls in 2003.
Exactly. So I think you're right. I think the Swedish, the Danes, and all of them got it right because they are a co-ed military.
Right. And it's the culture, like the American culture. It's this like, it's very misogynistic, male dominated. Like you said, take care of the females like they're precious, whatever.
Yeah.
It's the culture. There's plenty of other countries where females are required to serve in the military.
Yeah. And not just in medical field.
For forever.
Now in Korea, all women go into the medical field. If you want, and it's if you want to serve over there. All males have to serve, but you can only be in the medical field if you're in the Korean Army. Now in the Swedes, when I met the Swedes in Bosnia, and I walked into their guy goes, "Hey, come on over here, we'll have a drink." And I went into their tent. And I'm walking in there, and I see a female soldier laying on her cot in her underwear and bra, and it's like she's not even there. But as an American, I go, "Holy shit, Shinola, what the hell's going on in here?" And then I sat somebody, I go, you guys sleep in the same tents? And he goes, "Well, yeah."
Oh, we do that in the American Army too. I shared many a tent with my squad.
Yeah.
I would rather not because they stink. They don't shower.
Yeah, we don't.
I'm like, but the thing is when you're the minority, they don't want to give you a whole nother tent. If there's like there's I think 2, maybe 3 of us.
Yeah.
Females, and they didn't want to give us a tent to ourselves, so we just shared the tent with my squad.
Were you on like one end?
I mean, kind of. I mean, we were all. I mean, it's just a regular OD green tent, like the old.
No, I mean inside the tent. Were you on one end of the tent, like all 3 women were right there together?
Oh yeah.
You weren't like up here and up there and yada yada. I guess if you in your brain, there's protection in numbers.
Well, we would want to hang out together, so we slept in the same area.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, like we talked about,
and I think that goes back to it. Like I said, it's as a society, the things that we see here in America, what we deem acceptable. But then think about, and by the way, I'm going to throw it out there. How cute is it that both of you are MPs and you're both drinking out of Buc-ee's cups? Got to throw that out there.
we planned it that way.
You know, hey, once a cop, always a cop. They got to have their coffee, damn it.
Yeah.
So, but
sure, coffee.
the that whole society thing where when you go to other countries and like you said, you walked in and it was like it was an everyday thing that the males and the females stayed in, they stayed in the same tent, they did the same thing. You go to other countries and their kids at 15 are able to drink because that's part of their society. They can. And
part of the problem is we make it such a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it's such a big deal, and it's like, sometimes separation is part of the problem. Like you can't be around females because you'll be distracted, and it's like, no, if you're distracted, that's your problem, and you need to get over it.
Yeah.
Like this is another human being, another person who's doing this job. So if you're distracted by that, then you need to figure out why you're distracted by it, and you need to fix it because you're there to do a job too.
Well, and again, like a psychologist would say, you're the problem and you alone can't fix the problem. Okay? So there has to be, in the military wisdom, you will do this and you will do blah, 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 or your ass is in a fucking sling and blah, blah, blah. That's how the military does it. And then they write it in an order.
Yeah.
That way, if you violate that order, they can prosecute your ass. Okay, let's take it one step forward. We talked before this. I said I don't have a problem with women in military combat roles.
Yeah.
Look at our freaking pilots. Okay, females can fly jets.
Yeah, that's combat.
Females can fly helicopters. Okay, that's fine. And a retort would be, yeah, they can do that, but when they fly back where it's safe, they can take a shower and clean everything. And like you said, exchange the old thing down there or whatever they're going to freaking do. That's one thing. It's another thing to live in the freaking mud with a bunch of dudes, okay? With a bunch of dudes in the mud and not having a second to do those things that people should do. Men, we've learned to live with crotch rot. Okay, I was in Bosnia. I didn't take a freaking shower for 4.5 months, and when I did take one, the skin was just peeling off my body. My Famunda cheese was at a stink level that would kill a skunk. Okay.
Well, it was great when you thought that you were over there in the sun in the desert so long. You're like, I'm getting a badass tan.
I mean, I was so freaking
after being powder.
I went to the doctor and they said, "Hey, why is my junk itching so bad? And it hurts when I pee." He goes, "You're so nasty down there. You caused a yeast infection, and that's why it's burning." I go, "Holy crap! I thought only women get that." No, nasty ass guys get it too. I said, "Wow, I didn't know that." Okay. And I'm going to tell you something. Sometimes it can be unbearable.
Yeah.
So how does a woman operate in an infantry platoon forward of everybody, putting out a little plastic thing and trying to gather rain and do those things that she knows she's been ingrained to take care of, okay, for her health, and then have to operate around a bunch of horny freaking infantry dudes? Because you're a gal, we change after about 2 or 3 weeks with not doing certain things. That's how stupid Neanderthal we really are. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. How do you deal with all that stuff? Okay,
you just adapt. Again, like I've lived in the fields when I went in 2003, we went into Buka. We took it over from the British. We lived in the sand. We were burning shit. We didn't have water. They gave us 2 liters of water a day, and use it as you will. If you're going to drink it, you drink it. If you bathe with it, you bathe with it. If you wash your clothes with it, you wash your clothes with it. Like I didn't have a proper shower for months. You just adapt and you do what you can. And it was hot as hell over there too.
Yeah.
Buka was down south, closer to the Kuwaiti border, just dropped in the middle of the sand pit, nothing around.
Yeah.
And it was hot. You know,
I'm going to tell you something. I went on one freaking deployment, my first deployment. And when I got back, the first thing I did, because I came back for like a week break into Germany. They said I had to go back, I had to take a DA photo and some bullshit like. So anyway, I went back. I said,
I'll be right back.
I'll take the flight back. But when I went back, I went straight to the freaking commissary and the PX. I bought every freaking baby wipe, Huggies baby wipe.
Yeah.
I learned right then, you don't deploy without some Huggies. I mean, it was Pampers or Huggies, but Huggies was thicker. It felt more manly to me. Okay. And I mean, I scrubbed the color off my body in certain places, because you can only crap in the woods so much before you need to take a baby wipe to your backside. That's true. Okay.
I do know that's true.
MRE toilet paper will only wipe so freaking much.
To this day, I don't go anywhere with baby wipes. I have them in my house. I've got them in my office at work. They're in my car.
Yeah. And now they came out with dude wipes. I wish they had dude wipes. And I would really feel manly if I deployed with, like a case of dude wipes.
So,
I could sell them.
Like you said, you're in filth or whatever. So like you're in filth. Everyone is in filth. So you don't know that you're not filthy, right?
Yeah.
So every once in a while, when I was in the field at Buka, we got an opportunity to go to the base in Kuwait. I cannot remember for the life of me
Doha?
Yes, Doha. We got to go to Doha every once in a while for a supply run. So I got to go one time.
I heard it.
And that's when like people would sometimes like be able to like sneak in the shower trailers and like take a quick little shower or whatever. So I went.
A shower what?
Like a trailer. They had these like trailers that they just had like showers.
What the frick? We had to build ours out of 2x4s.
Well, no, this was on the base though.
This
was on the base. This was on the Doha. So I went for a supply run and like we go on base and like, everyone's in their like pressed uniform with creases and all this stuff. We roll in and we're dirty as hell. And then like we look around and we're like, you realize how like nasty you are. You don't realize it because everyone around you smells.
You guys rolled in like a bunch of nasty Bedouins.
Yeah. So we roll in and people are looking at us like we're like, crazy like natives from I don't know where, because like, our uniforms aren't nice and creased. They're not even clean, and I'm sure we didn't smell good because we didn't have showers and things like that. So you don't realize how bad you are sometimes until you see like people who.
Yeah, Don, you just
born in
the wrong body, Don.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing that you don't smell yourself until you see somebody that's clean?
I mean, we knew
like just seeing them. You're like, oh, you're clean, and all of a sudden now I can smell myself. I just went 2 months and couldn't smell myself. But
I mean, we knew.
Then you think to yourself, how do I get that job in the rear with the gear? How the hell do I get that job? You know what I'm saying?
I never had that job. I always had the job where I had the forever salt stain on my back, and
that was free starch. It's not a salt stain. It was free starch.
Free starch.
Right. Yeah. And
So,
you know what? As male soldiers, we know that. And I go like this. I just go, dude. I had 2 people messing around in as we were deployed and stuff, and I go, dude, we haven't had a shower at the time in 2 months.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How the hell could you be messing around with a chick that you know has not taken a shower as long as you have? I said, that's to me, I just go, dude, you need to get your priorities straight, all right?
Because they don't
And
care.
that's what I'm talking
They
about.
don't care. There's always people messing
I
around.
was an HHC first sergeant, and we had all of a sudden, because when you deploy, we went to Bosnia, you deploy, you have the Army will plus you up, okay, so you can meet your MTO standard.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, we get in 8 female nurses into a combat engineer battalion.
Yeah.
In our medical section. Of course, they fall under me. We don't have no females in this entire battalion. We get 6 girls, female soldiers in. They're all nurses, medics, if you will. And all but one within the first freaking year got pregnant on the deployment.
Yeah. Anytime we got a new female, we would call it a fresh meat, because like the guys would the guys would want to be like, oh, here comes the fresh meat.
And then I get my ass chewed out by the battalion commander because I have one female left. I said, well, what's your fucking problem? And she goes, excuse me, First Sergeant? I said, why aren't you pregnant? She goes, I'm gay. I go, oh, I'm sorry. And it wasn't 24 hours later. I was standing in front of the battalion commander and he was ripping my ass.
Hi, Paul.
You can't ask her that shit. I said, I'm so frustrated right now. I don't have enough medics to fill the missions, within the battalion, all the companies in the battalion. I'm like going, I send all I can send down there is females. Okay. I got 1 PA, 1 doctor, and I got 6 females, and they go down to these companies. And next thing I know, hey, she's on a truck back, and she says she's throwing up and having some kind of pains and stuff. I go, what? And come to find out, boom, she's gone. Mm-hmm. And of course, they chaptered them all out because it's in violation of Army regulations to fornicate in the combat zone. It's a no-no.
Unfortunately, it's always lands on the female because they bear the burden of the proof, and the male doesn't.
Exactly.
Well, and
when you ask them, like the sergeant major asked him, "Who's the daddy?" She goes, "I don't fucking know."
But even if they said like nothing's happening to the male, because they can't prove it. All he has to do is say, no, it wasn't me.
This is the dude, okay, and none of them said who it was. Yeah, and I think they wanted out of there because we were doing some pretty dangerous shit because we were blowing up all the mines from the Sava River all the way to Sarajevo. We went through 3 battalion loads of demo. And if you don't know what that is, that's thousands and thousands of pounds per basic load. And we went through that 3 or 4 frickin' times, blowing up landmines, laying A-Ville-B bridges and stuff like that, and building triple doubles, Bailey bridges and all that stuff on our way to Sarajevo to open up the roadways. So, it's a burden when you're in a combat unit and then you get filled. Yeah. And how do you got to bring out your kid gloves, and how do you handle this? And what can you say when you're used to talking like filthy sailors to all your guys and stuff like that? You can't get away with that. Somebody's going to turn your ass in. I found out.
And I think that this is a good point of the fact that, Denise and Dawn being in here tonight, they are the exception to the rule of the standard that
probably.
When you're gonna,
they're badass bitches.
They are.
I'm not going to get offended. It's very hard to offend me.
And I think that, kind of going back to changing the standard, but also changing the expectation. Back when I was in Combat Engineer Battalion, and they were talking about introducing females into combat engineers. And it was one of those that it came in with an expectation. And Denise had brought this up earlier. There was 3 of them had to stay. I'm not even going to touch that one, Dawn. I seen it earlier popped up, and I'm just kind of like, a whole effing sock? Like, okay, that's a conversation for another day. But, was when they come in and they have...
I hope it was cotton and not the green wool sock.
When they have an expectation that they're going to get extra tents, they're going to have their own showers, they're going to have all this stuff. Yeah. I think that was the hard part, because the ones that I dealt with at that time, that was the expectation. Yeah. Was they would come in and they're like, oh, well, we get our own berthing, we get our own showers, we get our own, and it's like, no, you want to come in. Yeah. Like, we're one unit, we're here. Guess what? You're sleeping in the same dirt and swaller that we're sleeping. You're going to shower. Yeah. During these times when the shower tent's running. Like, their individual shower stalls, even the raggedy tents that they had. Like, it's not like you're not group showers like boot camp. Yeah. It was still right. Yeah. But they had to make exceptions for everything. And I think that becomes the challenge and the distraction within the entire command element. Because, like we talked about the men coming in with an expectation that we have to protect the women and all this stuff. But on the flip side of it, and obviously I'm not a female, but seeing it from that side, was the women are coming in with an expectation that they're going to get exceptions. They're going to get, or accommodations made for them. I'm sorry, you're still a dirt-filled grunt just like me. We're going to live in the dirt. We're going to eat dirt. We're going to shit in the dirt. We're going to do everything in the dirt. That's what you need to expect. But when they're led to believe there's going to be exceptions made for them, right? Again, it falls back on society failing the American people and how they're developing people. Yeah. My daughter had to call me because she was laughing the fact that she had to go change her husband's tire because he got a flat tire on the side of the road and didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I love the dude. He's a great son-in-law.
Somebody's father failed that young man.
Right.
Or uncle or whoever, they failed that young man.
Yeah. My father had 2 daughters, so I know how to change tires. Yeah. I know how to change the oil. I know how to do a lot of things. I choose not to do them.
Now, Terry has.
If I had to do it,
Terry changed the tires on her car. She was going to work. She's in freaking stiletto heels or whatever, changing a freaking tire in a dress on the side of the freaking road. Yeah. Now, the other day, a while back, when she had a flat, and she pulled into our granddaughter's the driveway there and ran over something. She called me and she said, hey, this freaking wrench that came with this Jeep doesn't fit the lug nuts on here. You need to do something. So I came out there with a jack, because those car jacks, and you're on a dirt road. I brought a damn floor jack out there in my Jeep. We jacked it up, and come to find out, whoever bought this before she did put designer wheels on there. And I brought a breaker bar and all these sockets, and we did get it off. We did change it. Everything was fine. But now she has a mini 2-ton jack in her car. She has a breaker bar and she has a socket for her rims. Now, as a male, I did not fail her. I gave her the proper tools, and she knows how to do it. So
yeah,
if Terry ever says anything to anybody, she's talking shit. But she can. She's out there on the side of the freaking road. Beep, beep. Everybody honking because her butt's sticking out there, and she's in high heels and stilettos, changing the tire. So if she can do that, anybody can be taught to do that.
See,
so there you go.
And now Big Mike calls Terry for help.
That's right.
That's right. When I fall, Terry, she don't listen. She's in there playing her game.
She's like,
You don't hear me.
when I'm done.
You should
Hang
have
on.
done it.
I'm collecting wheat. I'm collecting wheat.
I told you not to do it anyways, and you did it.
Oh man, guys, I want to thank you guys, everybody that came in tonight. I don't think we accomplished a damn thing. I don't think anybody in the Pentagon is listening to Sergeant's Talk TV, but if they are, hey, please subscribe to the channel.
It's good conversations to have. It's good conversations.
It is.
I mean, could you imagine, like, maybe he's listening. Maybe Pete's out there. And Pete, come on. Hey, click the link.
Yeah.
Come on up. We won't tell nobody.
Yeah.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I just want to say that we had a tragedy in my area yesterday. One of my fellow female soldiers is a sergeant for a sheriff's department out here, and one of her deputies was fatally shot yesterday while responding to a domestic violence call. And so if everyone can just give prayers to his wife and his 2-year-old and his baby that is on the way, I would appreciate that.
Yeah. And you remember what you learned in MP school when you respond to a domestic disturbance. You don't do it on your own, and you never take your eye off the subjects in question. Period. The male and the female.
Yeah, this was not a good dude.
Women, I have found through my experience, will even though she got her ass whooped by the man, once you take her man out of her household forcibly, sometimes they turn somehow in their brain, they will attack you. Yeah, because you're hurting somebody. They must love them, but I'm just saying, and that's sad that happened. Oh my God, and it happens a lot in domestic disturbance. Trust me, guys.
It does.
It happens a lot. Yeah.
Well, thank
you. I want to thank everybody for coming in.
Put that out. I appreciate it.
Yep. Prayers for their families. Yes. And guys, this is a hot subject.
Yeah, it is.
Until the actual military sits down and has open discussions about it, and not just, hey, let's write a freaking order here. And they brainstorm, what are we, we know what the Congress people want. They're a bunch of jackwagons. They don't know shit from Shinola, okay? But we want this, whoa. But they don't want to be treated bad by men, but they want to be respected by men. And they have an agenda, trust me.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But until they sit down and have the tough decisions and conversations, okay, that will result in, hey, if you can pass the standard, you're in, okay? But we do need to take lessons from these other countries, Sweden, Denmark, and all that, Norway, where everybody from boot camp on, female might be on the top rack, you're on the bottom rack, it doesn't matter. Everybody's treated equally like shit in basic training. You're raised back up as a team. Maybe then, because we segregate the males from the females still today in basic training. Now they may train together, they bring them together, but then they separate them. And that's what we're used to. So we're not, I would say that part of the problem is the military doctrine and the way in which we train our service members. Call me a progressive. I don't care. I just think that we need to change that.
Okay? Well, it's society's mindset.
Yeah.
Right. We have to change our mindset, and everybody's equal. Everybody's equal. But
now you've seen the horror pictures from Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
Of dead soldiers and all that kind of stuff. Now, replace those dead soldiers with females for males and for the American public, that would be a totally different reaction. Okay. as a whole, just how divided we are and the way everybody thinks, that would be like, what the hell are you doing? How can you? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you'd hear, no matter what decision they make, somebody's going to bitch and complain about it. It doesn't matter.
yeah.
Oh yeah. There's always California.
So, guys, I want to thank you guys for coming in. Remember, be kind to one another, help somebody in need, and always think of that, guys.
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
Denise, don't click out of this link. We're going to end the live stream, but I need you to stay up for a minute.
Who, me?
Yes. Don't.
Oh, okay.
We'll click end live, but stay.
So, guys,
Okay.
we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye now.
Bye.
Hot mic.